Hey, everybody, Mark Herman, a.k.a. LA Bengals fan on most of the major platforms. And Sam wasn't able to join us today, but I have the pleasure of doing this show with Blake Jewell, who's the host of the Who Dey Talk Pod and the Bengals Report. And this is another episode of Jungle Talk. Yeah, woo! And Blake, go ahead and tell them where they can find all your stuff. I know you've got a big presence on Twitter, so go ahead.
Yeah, just it's at Blake Jewell NFL on anything, Instagram, Twitter, all that's where you can find my articles, podcasts, everything like that.
Okay. And we're going to do what we usually do. We're previewing the San Francisco game this week. So we're going to do what we usually do. We'll cover a little bit of Bengal news, and then we'll talk about the things we're not feeling good about coming into this game, the things we're feeling good about, and then we'll do our predictions. So obviously injuries. We escaped most of this season. We've been relatively healthy. Last week we got beat up a little bit. So Logan Wilson got hurt. He didn't practice. He has a separated shoulder. Awuzie is my biggest concern. And then obviously, and not having Reef and Hopkins was, having to play Prince and Hill was, it hurt. But I don't know. Have you heard anything about anybody coming back or?
For the most part, I we'll see about Chiba Awuzie. I've seen that, that it was looking better today. I think I saw something like that on Twitter earlier. They said that he looked good on the rehab field. And then, with him being out, Trey Waynes, they put a possibility of him coming back this week. So if he were to come back, he didn't really have a great couple of games earlier in the season, but without Awuzie, just be nice to have another body in there for the defensive back group.
Yeah, I've been holding out hope that he would help us in the, make this playoff push. So because we've really got nothing of all the free agent signings, he was kind of the one where he was the one miss we've had. So it would be nice if he could contribute now that we actually really need him. So it would be great to have him come in. So all right, well, let's jump into the what we're feeling good about, what we're not feeling good about, and I can get us started on the bad side. I'm not feeling good about their defense. I mean, obviously, Bosa's fully healthy. He was a full practice. Warner's, so that's one of my concerns is they do have a stout defense. So
yeah, they do have a pretty good defense, and I think he's going to play with like T. Higgins being banged up a little bit, Burrow's hand a little bit. Probably not a great week for that to be happening right now.
Right.
I think they're both going to play, and I think they're both going to be fine. It's just they're just a little banged up. And then, the offensive line's a little banged up as well. So it could get a little tough on that end with their defense. I think another really big concern, or my biggest concern this week, is going to be George Kittle.
Yeah.
He had 181 yards, 2 touchdowns last week. Without Logan Wilson in the middle of the field and possibly without Cheeto, I think it's going to be tough to guard him. I think they might do something with Trey Flowers maybe on him the whole game. And then another one is Akeem Davis-Gaither being out. He's been out for a couple weeks now, but he probably would have been the guy that would have been, hovering around Kittle most of the game. So I think that a real big key of the game is going to be that you can't really stop George Kittle when he's going, but you can try to contain him. And I think keeping him from having a real big game is going to be one of the biggest keys this week.
Yeah, I completely agree. Great point. I had Kittle on my list. Deebo Samuel, too, if he comes back. They struggled last week, in Seattle. But had they had Samuel, that's a completely different game. So he's listed on the injury report as Deebo Samuel. Where are you here? He was listed. He didn't practice either day, and it's a groin. And the comment by Shanahan was he's hopeful. So hopeful is kind of the comment you make when the guy is out. You announce on Sunday afternoon that he's out, but I really think the word hopeful led me to believe that maybe there's a chance we don't see Deebo Samuel. So we'll see, because he can be a problem too. He's got that big play ability. So
yeah, and that's going to be huge too, because I think they really will have a real big problem with him coming out of the backfield. I think he's good outside, but where he's really dangerous is when he's in the backfield. They hand it off to him, they throw it to him from out there, and I think the Bengals would have really struggled with that, especially with Logan Wilson and Akeem Davis-Gaither out. So if avoid having to play Deebo Samuel this week, I think it's going to help a lot. I think that'll be big for the Bengals.
If Deebo Samuel can play, he's going to be out there because it's a critical game for us, but this is even more critical for San Francisco because of the playoff picture in the NFC and the fact that they're 6-6. So I like to catch teams off a win. So it didn't really excite me all that much that they didn't take care of business in Seattle last week, because I would much rather have caught them feeling good about themselves, not as desperate. And I got the feeling they were kind of holding Samuel back last week because they thought that this was maybe a more important game. So we'll see how that plays out. My other biggest concern, and if anybody's watched this show before, you know that I'm a big fan of Kyle Shanahan, just because I'm impressed with the fact, like last year, he schemed up some great schemes. He had an injury-laden team, one with backup QBs, but beat the Rams. I mean, Shanahan knows how to scheme up a game. He's a good coach. So that's another concern, is that he comes in with a game plan that maybe we're not expecting. So that's a big concern of mine, so.
Yeah, and I think we saw last week, without how big of a part Deebo Samuel was in their offense. So I think that, last week too, that could have been, that was their first game without Deebo Samuel. Now he kind of has more of an idea of what to do, to scheme around with the scheme without having Deebo Samuel on your team. So I think, we saw no Deebo Samuel last week, so they went to George Kittle. He had a big game. And I think that also without Deebo, they could be going back to Brandon Ayuk, who had a pretty good stretch. Good stretch. I think it was probably 5 games in a row where he had a good game before last week. So he's going to be a threat too.
Yeah, Ayuk was listed. Hold on, I saw him on their injury report. Oh no, he's not on their injury report at all. So Ayuk's fine. Oh, it was Elijah Mitchell that didn't practice, and his is concussion, so he may not be available. Blake, we lost you for a second. Now you're back. Yeah. So there you go. All right. So no problem. So let's transition. You have anything else that's negative that you're feeling bad about?
I did have one that's not really feeling bad about. Joe Mixon's sick. So it's just illness. But so there's just a little bit of a question mark there about Mixon. I think he's going to play, but Mixon's going to be a huge part of this game. The idea should be controlling the ball, controlling possession. Running the ball, and I think without Mixon, which I do think he's going to play, but if for some reason they were without Joe Mixon, it would be a huge blow for this game specifically.
Yeah, I actually had on the good thing I'm going to talk about how our running game should be, but I saw Mixon as an illness, and the other thing I didn't bring up was Joe Burrow's finger. In his presser, he talked about it's getting better each day. It's sore. It was dislocated, not broken, which is a good thing. We know he played with it, during the game. It might have affected some of the velocity and some of the strength on his balls, but he seemed to complete some big passes. I mean, that finger injury happened on the strip sack. That was the second score. We gave up the touchdown. They missed the PAT. Then the strip sack led to a field goal. It was on the strip sack where it was dislocated. So he played the second quarter. So when we got back into the game, he was playing with that hurt finger. And obviously, you saw him on the sideline. We all saw that. But I don't think that's going to be as big an issue this week. I think, he seemed very positive. And he said, there's no way I'm missing time because of the finger. So he'll play. So that's one of the reasons why I'd bring it up. But let's transition into the good. And I'll start. One of the things I feel really good about is Garoppolo. I know he's been playing probably better ball than anybody expected, but he's still a very stationary Flacco type quarterback. So I really think we can get to him and disrupt him.
I read some articles today, actually, of 49ers fans were calling for Trey Lance after last week's game. So they're about through with them too. So I think that we match up well against Garoppolo. I think that Hendrickson, I think he'll keep the sack streak alive this week.
I do too.
I think he's going to get after Garoppolo. And, Uwuzie being out, I think we don't know yet, but him being out would hurt. Eli Apple's been pretty solid over the past. He's kind of hit stride this time of year, so I think Eli Apple will play well, and we'll see what they get out of Mike Hilton. So I think they match up pretty well with the offense. I think like I said earlier, I'm not worried about Garoppolo. It's just Kittle is the main concern.
Oh yeah, we struggle with the tight ends for some reason. Backs out of the backfield, which is why Samuel's an issue, and Kittle. We struggle with those two positions covering them, and with Logan Wilson out, that doesn't help us. So I mean, I'm hoping maybe we hear that he's going to play, but I haven't heard anything positive about Logan Wilson, so I'm assuming we don't have him. The other thing, I really think we can run against this team. They're 18th against the run. 4 of their last 7 opponents have run for 140 or more yards. So now, granted, last week half of it was on a fake punt, but other than that, the other games, the 3 out of the 7, they've had teams that have run for over 140 yards. So I think we can get in there and do the same thing.
Yeah, and I think they're going to be able to run really well against the 49ers, and I think the Bengals are going to score a lot of points, or they'll have opportunities to score a lot of points. And on the good side, another thing I was going to say, I feel another big game from Jamar Chase coming. He's been due for that. And I think once they get Joe Mixon running and they kind of go to stop the run a little more, I think they'll find Chase deep again. Hopefully he catches it this time. That was a little deflating last week.
That play, you basically turned a touchdown into a turnover. I mean, that we score there, and it's literally a 14-point swing. We score there and it's 9-7, and instead it was 16-0 because we turned the ball over and they scored again on the Mike Williams pass. So, I think he really wants to make up for that. So I think I'm feeling the same kind of thing. I also have this inkling that CJ Uzomah is gonna kind of, he's had a few weeks off, so people have kind of forgotten about him. So I really think that there's a couple plays in there for Uzomah this week. And I do think that the San Francisco secondary will struggle with our pass catchers. They're going to struggle with Boyd and Higgins and Chase. And I think that's going to open up things even more for Joe Mixon on the running line. So I really, really think we should be able to move the ball well on that. But that's what I've been feeling pretty good about this game. Do you have anything else you wanted to add in terms of what you're feeling good about?
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. It's just I think the 49ers are going to struggle with, when you're facing the Bengals, you have to worry about Joe Mixon, who's been fantastic this year. He's dominant on the ground. Yes. And then you have to guard all 3 of Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd. Right. And that's very hard to do. And you saw, they've kind of been trying to take away Jamar Chase. Well, then T. Higgins has been going crazy the last 2 games.
Yep.
So you're not going to be able to guard all 3. You're not going to be able to completely shut down Joe Mixon. You can try, you can load the box, but then Chase will take the top off. You'll see Higgins down the middle. A play I'm really looking forward to seeing, we haven't seen much this year, is Burrow to Boyd right in the middle of the field. It was an automatic first down last year. It happened so many times, and then they kind of went away with that. So I think that with Higgins playing well, Chase is a deep threat. I think that this week you could see a lot more of Tyler Boyd just right up there in the middle of the field coming across.
Yeah, I agree. So, all right. Well, with that, why don't we jump right into predictions? What's your prediction for this game?
So I sent in my prediction earlier today to all Bengals. And I picked the Bengals to win the last, since the Jets game. I think I've had them win every game.
Right.
And it's just because I got that confidence. So this week I wanted to do the opposite. I picked the 49ers 31-24, I believe.
Right.
And most of it is because this team's so unpredictable. They could lose by 40 or they could win by 40 this week. It's hard to tell.
Right.
But also some of it is I kind of want to reverse maybe a little jinx.
It's the reverse hex. I like it.
And hopefully I pick the 49ers and hopefully the Bengals win this week. So
sure. But now what does your heart say about a Bengal victory? If you were going, because I understand reverse jinx stuff and I'm all on board. If it works, do a reverse jinx next week too.
Yeah.
But what do you think if you believe the Bengals were going to win, what do you think the score would be?
I mean, I really think the Bengals can put up a lot of points this week, and a lot of it depends on Deebo Samuel being out on the other side.
Right.
But I think the Bengals can hit high 30s this week. I think we could be looking at, if everything's hitting right, if Cheeto plays, all that, I think we can be looking at like a 38-21 score for the Bengals. But like I said, they're very unpredictable, so it could be the opposite way too. It's hard to tell, but I think with how dangerous this offense can be. I'm not too concerned about the 49ers defense. I think they can score a ton of points this week.
All right. Well, I know this is a critical game for both teams. And I know Shanahan, he's got a lot of experience and he's been very successful against the Rams.
Mm.
And Zach Taylor comes from that tree. So that's my biggest concern in terms of is the wild card to me is Shanahan and whether or not he's got the right game plan in place. But that concerns me the most. But both teams got sucker punched last week.
Mm.
San Francisco should have gone into Seattle and won. We should have won the home game against the Chargers. So they're both going to be pissed. Like I said, I like catching teams off of a win. So I would have much rather had the Niners win. But I think this is going to be an ugly kind of AFC North battle where both teams try to control the ball, because Shanahan's answer to the Rams is always to come up, run the ball, and keep our offense on the sideline. Then he doesn't have to worry about Chase. He doesn't have to, but I've got it at 31-21. That's what I've got. So I do believe we put up the 30 burger, and I'm counting on our defense to be able to, like you said, just contain Kittle. We're not going to stop him, but it's kind of like when we face the Ravens and Andrews. You try to contain him, he's going to get his targets and he's going to get his yards, but you just try to make it so it's limited. So that's my feeling on it. So well, with that, why don't you remind everybody where they can find your stuff and the name of the podcast and everything?
Yeah, you can look up Blake Jewell NFL on Twitter, and you can find all my links, everything there. You can go to allbengals.com. My articles are all there. Podcast is called Bengals Report. We had an episode with Mo Egger, I believe, in the summer, and that was the first episode. Kind of got away from it a little bit, but I'm trying to get it restarted. So hopefully in the next couple weeks, should have another episode, and I'm going to try to do it every week. So it'll be on Spotify, pretty much anywhere. I think you can just look up Bengals Report, and I'll tweet whenever it comes out. So you can look for it there.
Excellent. So, and we'll be back. I will be back with Sam after the game with a recap of, remember, we're an afternoon start, people. So this is going to be a later in the evening, East Coast time kind of upload, but we'll be back with the recap. Hopefully we win this game. This is a very important game. If we win the next three, we can win the North. So this is the start. If we can string three together here and beat, the Niners, the Broncos, and then the Ravens, we will be in first place in the division. So that's I think our best path to the playoffs. So, but all right. Well, and please follow Blake on Twitter and check out his podcast. And if you don't subscribe, please subscribe. It's all we ask for. And with that, I'm going to say, hoo day, everybody.
Hoo day.
Hoo day. And we'll catch you after the game. Thanks.